So, what is love? What is life? Wonderful questions. And I think it's different for each and every one of us because we experience life differently. We experience emotions differently. We react differently because we are different individuals of the whole, of that oneness that is all that exists. There's a lot of chaos in our world. There's a lot of chaos within a lot of people, sometimes even within your spiritual leaders. And in and through it all, the one thing that I know is that if I can connect within myself and listen, I will be guided to the right and perfect change that I need to make in my consciousness around life and love. Constant conscious of energy, of ideas, of a way of life becomes easier when we going within, connecting to that higher source that is us, that mighty power of God. We are but expressions of God. The almighty power and perfection that is life. And through our own thinking, sometimes we might find ourselves in the conscious flow of the collective, which can be fear. It may show up as ignorance. And I don't mean by not having enough knowledge, but not understanding. It may show up as an awareness of who you really are. An unawareness how in order for one person to believe and to be and to exist in the chaos, someone else has to be wrong. Because the truth is, we are where we are in our awareness. Doesn't necessarily make us wrong. It does make us sometimes it makes us afraid. Sometimes it makes us angry. And that anger is not necessarily a bad thing because it can be something that propels us to change our consciousness. It does become a bad thing when we choose to send it directly to someone else or to a different race, culture, because then that anger breeds hate, which is the complete opposite of our truth, of life, which is love. It's not an easy journey. And the truth is, it's a journey that keeps repeating itself. Right? I mean, all the strife that's going on in our world today is not new. It's repeated from the existence of man and our awareness to today. And it has shown up and reared up as that cobra head does on more than one occasion in most of our lives that are here today. And it's going to keep rearing its head and keep spitting out until each one of us, and I mean all of us, change the way we think, change our consciousness and the way that we live. We no longer can live outside of ourselves and think that this is going to fix anything, because it's not. As long as we are living outside of ourselves in the mirror image of what we think, then the challenges persist within us. Whatever is within shows up in the outer. So all of the hate, all of the chaos, all of the strife is going on within us. It may be fear, it may be hatred, it may be an unknowing of the truth, trapped in old traditions, trapped in old thinking, putting ourselves and limiting ourselves in a box. How do we get out of the box? Don't just push the walls away. Let's tear the walls down. How do we do that? The only way that I know to do it is to be conscious of my inner voice and to know what my inner voice is telling me. And when my inner voice reacts in fear or anger, then I have work to do. You know that old saying, don't take it personally? Well, if you take it personally, you got work to do, right? If you cannot stand as love for all people, and this one's hard, it's hard to swallow sometimes, even in the worst that they are, the worst moment of their life, if we cannot see them as love, as a part of ourselves, as an extension of who we are, as an extension of God, then we are adding to the chaos. So what are you conscious of? That's the question. Where is the fear showing up for you? Where is the anger showing up for you? Where is the hatred showing up for you? And I'm going to speak for me, because this is what I have to do for myself. And I've been working at it for a long time. And sometimes I just say, okay, I give up. And I might have to go pout for a minute. Because it's hard work. And you get tired of constantly being reminded of when you're not loving everyone, when that thought is like, really, seriously? This is where we're going? But it happens because we are all human beings and we are all experiencing this spiritual revolution in a different way. Because that's exactly what this is. This is all about the spiritual advancement of the human being. Are you conscious of the inner voice and the unveiling of greatness that you are, and the power that you have when you live from within. Let me say that again. Are you conscious of the inner voice and the unveiling greatness that you are? Because that's the truth. Whatever you are, wherever you are on this journey, there is greatness coming in and through you as awareness, as life, as the power of love. And when enough of us awaken to this power of love, and when we understand our truth, the truth of that love, is if we're living as love, we no longer live from fear and lack. So when the fear comes up, switch over to what can I love? What in me needs to be loved and embraced right now? When we get into that space of lack, because a lot of what we're experiencing right now in the social justice world, injustice, is the truth of it, is lack. And not necessarily on those who are being stepped on, oppressed. It's not their lack consciousness. It's the lack consciousness of what created it in the beginning, which is greed. That's how far back we have to go to heal it. And in America, you know, we say about 400 years ago, well, in humankind, we go back to the beginning of our thoughts. And where did the separation come in? Where did the fear begin? Well, it began when the saber-toothed tiger was chasing us. And we were afraid. And then we realized that we were hungry and there wasn't enough food. So this is a constant stream of thinking that has been going on since humanity was birthed. When you understand that love flows through all planes of manifestation, from this earth, from the all existence of our universe, that's when we truly will turn the corner and begin to heal. And until we awaken and say, no more injustice, no more thoughts of lack, no more thoughts of hatred and anger at myself and at others because I am not perfect, we will not change. I know that we can do this. You are a living opportunity for the spiritual advancement of humanity. That sounds a little overwhelming when I say it like that. I am an opportunity for the spiritual advancement of humanity. Living as an opportunity for the spiritual advancement of all of us. We all are. And it takes all of us to shift the change. It takes us to recognize that we are all in this together. This chaos is necessary. It's not pretty. It's not comfortable. Matter of fact, sometimes it's really ugly. We've seen it played and replayed out on the TVs and on the internet and everywhere over. It has to stop. The only way we stop it is if we change. We change our our structure, change our thinking about the truth of who we are. Who is better than the other, because that is not true. That is false. That is a false doctrine. If you find yourself in fear, telling yourself you're wrong or right, angry, then we have a lot of work to do. And we do it in that moment. And it's going to come back up in another moment until we really get it, until we really understand the truth. In spirit, it's all that exists. Nothing else. Nothing else exists but the I am. The rest of it is all separation. It's all what we picture in the outer world. And it's not the truth. Reality comes from that voice of heaven that is within us. And as you practice going into that space, just as we do in meditation every day, on Sundays, on Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, and we really practice and listen, then the truth unfolds for ourselves. The real you manifest the power of love and peace. Because it is that creative principle, that law of existence in the whole universe. And we know it's there even though we can't see it. It's there. And it's through that principle that the visible is created. That's the miracle. That's the faith that Jesus taught the disciples. We must know ourselves as life. That's the principle. We are life. And we know everything is created by us. That's the basis of our faith, the spiritual power to perform miracles in the reality, in this world, is the law of creative principle. Humanity is and has been blinded by the power of manifestation through the power of greed, money. And the principle is what we see today. It all adds to the false foundation of this country, of superiority one over the other. There is no difference in any of us. Yes, our skins are different color because of the pigmentation of where we lived at, or where our DNA is from. And believe me, I don't understand it all. All I know is that 8,000 years ago, some woman in northern Africa migrated to the West, and I'm standing up here today. That's all I know. There's other stuff that I do know about my own individual family, and if you don't, I suggest you look at it. If you haven't had your DNA done yet, it's an interesting path to follow. Because we are all one. There is no. And what the difference is the degree of awareness or realization of our own consciousness. awareness is important because every one of us sees the split. Whether we know we see it or not, we see the split, right? We see that we're different. We see and create a separation from the Almighty that is within us through our guilt, shame. Really, it's through our unawareness of who we are. And that just creates more false perceptions about ourselves and about others. And so this is where discernment really plays a role in our growth. Are we willing to let go of the false perceptions about ourselves and about others? Well, if you're willing, you gotta know what you're aware of. You gotta see what limitations you're putting yourself in. We're still putting ourselves in a box and labeling it. Stop. If you're going to label yourself, label it as humanity, spiritual advancer. The truth is, we limit ourselves. We are limiting ourselves right now. And we limit everyone else through our own lens and perceptions. We are all hurting at some degree. And so we intentionally hurt others. We all might feel powerless in the chaos of the world. And so our thoughts become that everyone else should be powerless too. This is all a false belief. We have to recognize our own thoughts. Labeling that limitation, and we lead the way to the holy place. God is that holy place. Allah, nature, universe, cosmos, whatever name you want to give it, as we label again. And I understand why we do it, because in our constructive thinking, sometimes we have to hold on to something and name it in order to allow ourselves to understand it. Let go of it. Live in the invisible creative process. Live completely through your awareness, through your conscious power of the higher self. Go within to that Almighty and find the answers for your living expression. Pray knowing that your soul in this world, in this whole universe, is taking action to create and express what you ask for. So know what you're asking for. Be clear and concise and precise. God is life, and life is perfect love. That's what I'm asking for. For not only myself, my family, but for all of humanity. To realize that God is life and life is perfect love. So as I end today, I'm going to ask each of us during our prayer time this week to pray for yourselves and to community and in our world, that the larger community of Louisville, the larger community of our United States and North America and the whole globe. Pray that each of us rises up, that we each take to our higher consciousness, allowing our soul to live in love and harmony, to use that creative principle to lead us to the sweet world which works for all of us, grasping the truth from within, listening to that inner voice of harmony. Namaste.